can't hold yourself. I'm very angry.
Do you want to step outside for 2 minutes and sort yourself out, darling? Alright, so girls that just come, I assume you have gotten a late notice. I saw 2 just walk in then, I swear I did.
Yeah, here.
Did you get a late note, darling? You sign in late?
They don't let you sign in before.
That's true, you're not. I'll change your name in a second. Okay? Was it just you? Nobody else? Okay. Alright, so, girls, let's go through this, okay? List as many internal and external influences you can with real world examples, okay? Who's got an internal influence?
Internal, that was like in the family.
Poor management.
Poor management, can you give me an example?
Like not the inability to adapt to any changes that may
Yep, so that's a theoretical example. I mean like a real world example.
There was this for my assignment.
Yep, we should all have some from our assessments.
Oh, lack of resources.
Right.
I have Shoes of Praise, like an online shoe store, and they were like, their aim was to like, people could design their own shoes online,
Yep.
but they couldn't like adapt to like changes outside.
Okay, so failure to adapt to
I
change.
wanted to see already designed shoes outside.
Good. You had one, Della?
Lack of resources.
Lack of resources. Give me the real world example.
The Smith closed down because they lacked cash resources.
Okay, Dick Smith, yes. What about some external examples?
Virgin. Economic influence.
Explain it fully, darling.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus, yes. And
Economic influence because of coronavirus.
alright, so
K. That one.
economic influences, of course, Virgin Airlines / COVID. Now, girls, one of the things that I did say actually on a lot of your drafts when you handed them in is make sure when you've got the external influence, a lot of you talked about COVID, which is great, but COVID itself is not the external influence. Okay? It's about what COVID causes, which is government policy and economic influences. Okay? So COVID itself is not the influence, it's about what happens in response to COVID. Okay? And I've written out in quite a number of your drafts. What else can we have for external?
Competitive situation.
Spend it out.
Kmart, Target closed, some of the stores closed down due to Kmart.
Kmart / Target rivalry. Wow, it's like all from one section today. Yes.
For Toys R Us, it said that the kids on the block were changing, like they don't like the same toys anymore.
Alright, so what terminology would we use that with? Have you got the answer down? Not adapting to trends, absolutely. So that could be an internal issue. Girls, you need time to sort it out. Because at the moment I've got you two having a very loud conversation in front of a camera right behind you. That's alright, but you need time to sort it out. Okay? Alright. Yes, so Toys R Us, so we could say it's an internal one for failure to adapt. And we can also just go external, changing social conditions.
Can't you get like 2 out of the both?
Absolutely. And this is also what I wrote on a couple of your drafts as well. There are a couple of things where you can get 2 for 1. Okay? Just because one has an external influence doesn't mean it might not have an internal influence as well. Okay? So we can have failure to adapt to social change. Toys R Us. Now, the failure to adapt is the internal section. The social change is the external, because they had no control over social change. Okay? Alright. Now, girls, I think we're all relatively comfortable now with the sort of internal versus external influences, okay? Now, what today's lesson is all about is how are we actually responding and attempting to solve those changes and influences, okay? So working on strategies to basically go, here's what's happening, here's how you're going to solve it, okay? So, let's go through this. Ooh, that's a bit rough.
Is that the design?
Bad marker. So the actual dot point that we're doing today, girls, is responding to internal and external influences. It is the last dot point, the first sub dot point of the last dot point, okay, for business management. So, what I want you to do, girls, I want you to think about each of these businesses in the next couple of slides and write down one way each business has changed over the last 10 years to adapt to change, okay? I'll give you 30 seconds for each one, and I'm going to discuss in the detail afterwards, okay?
Oh,
And whilst we're doing that, I will quickly just check the last people that came in. So, what you're going to do is you're going to say, over the last 10 years, how has Disney adapted to change? Okay? What new things has it done in the last 10 years to keep up the market? Okay. Shoot. Yes, Mulan is the best Disney princess. Well known. Ty is still not here, and Abby's still not here. All right. Next up. Next up. Next up. Good old Lego. Sorry. So you're actually closer to the mark than you think, in ways that they've changed. Yes, Libby. Sorry. What year does Disneyland open? Or what year was it open? I think the first one in America was, I want to say, the 70s or 60s. Want to? It's one of the very first institutions in America for higher education. Yeah. Same with Cambridge and Oxford. They've been open since like the 13th century. Yes. Sorry, I thought I saw a hand up. No, I'm going blind. All right. Who can tell me a couple of ways in which Disney has changed? Yep.
they do they recreate
Recreate prior movies, absolutely. Lavinia? Sorry? They have apps?
Like, you know how there's like Disney Plus?
Oh, what that actually is, it's streaming service. Yes, absolutely. What else? Yes? I will say though that the Disney amusement park, like we were just saying then, has been open far longer than 10 years. Okay, so that's sort of not a new one. They changed art style, yes. For example, when I was growing up, they tended to be cartoons. Okay, what is it now? Live action. Okay, or very high CGI animated ones.
Like Lion King? What was that? Lion King, yeah.
Well, that's a live action one, I believe.
But it doesn't
So
look like a-
animated would be like Shrek.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Good. Okay.
Oh, but Lion King.
Yes. Shh, shh, girls, I can't hear the answer. Yeah, recreating prior and then turning into live actions. Okay, but you're exactly right. Okay. Yeah, look exactly like Lion King. All right, Netflix. Some of you might not remember Netflix in its prior incarnation, so this might be a bit difficult. Has Netflix Party? I did not even know that.
Do you know what it is, like?
I have no idea. Explain, Kelly, explain.
So now while watching Netflix, you can chat with your friends.
That's insane.
So like you send a code to your friend and you can watch the movie together.
It's like a chat.
What was this? Now, my question would be, is this something that's only just happened with the COVID thing, or is it around? Okay, that explains it then. That makes sense.
I don't know if Netflix did it. It's just a Google extension.
Oh, okay, it's an add-on
Yeah, you
platform.
can do that with YouTube as well.
Okay, still good though. Anything else?
You can now download your movies for offline watching.
Yes, very handy feature if you're traveling. Physical
What was Netflix like before?
to online. So I think Lavinia would actually do a better job of explaining it than me. How did it used to be? What you were just saying then?
Oh, so like, now it's like a subscription and stuff. And before, instead of having to you actually send out the movies.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so you'd have like a monthly subscription, I believe it was, and they'd give you a DVD with a whole set of movies on it. That sounds about right, Lavinia? Yep. It would be like they would have a set section of the month. Yeah. So you get a lot of movies that you probably didn't want to watch on that DVD. Yeah. Anything else?
I thought Netflix only, I would say they cater for a more wider international market.
Absolutely. I know myself in particular, I love a lot of the international movies. The other year I was sitting there, I just can't believe how wide the selection is now. I managed to find a Turkish, an Afghan, and a, what was it? It was, I believe it was French series, that's what it was. Fantastic.
Wow, they have like a lot of
Yeah.
UK.
They have tons of UK, but that also makes sense for our country because we're still quite connected to them. Okay? Who here, raise your hand if you or a family member has ever bought anything of Amazon? Okay, so we've got a pretty good selection. Okay? Anybody know how Amazon's changed over the past 10 years? Lavinia? Prime, which is their streaming service. I actually use that, it's quite good, but doesn't have the same variety that Netflix does.
Amazon Web Services, so like they create like software and stuff. It's like their own IT company.
Software development. Yep.
sell like those Kindles?
I'll take it. It would have, if it wasn't this 10 years, it wouldn't been. It would have been pretty close to it. Kindle books. So for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically like a tiny tablet that you buy and stores all your books. Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll go through that one a bit later. Ow, ow, ow. Lego!
The Lego movie?
Good work.
Why would you have a Kindle?
Anything else?
The Lego Mindstorms range, which has like connected to more like software so you can code your like.
Yep. Lego is far bigger than most people realise.
They make like those shows and like building stuff.
I would say educational services.
Why isn't it the same for Play-Doh? Oh yeah.
I'm actually not sure if Play-Doh still exists as a company.
Play-Doh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that still does.
Still does?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. I could never afford it when I was a kid, so.
I love Play-Doh.
Anything else? Games.
Play-Doh.
Absolutely, Hitachi. They're one of the few toy companies that have made the leap from just being physical toys into let's go into the video game industry ourselves. Because we know that's the big one that's growing nowadays.
Wasn't Play-Doh so dangerous? Like, how did they not get?
Uh,
How did they not fail?
a lot of toys from the 90s were dangerous that we're finding out now. A lot of them had lead in them.
Bro, you can choke on this.
Alright, so let's have a look at what Disney did that you might not have gotten, okay? And you guys pretty much smashed it, by the way. Shh, 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 shh. So, first of all, move away from traditional cartoons / movies / shows to live action, which you guys got. Okay? They're revamping the series of things like Aladdin and the Lion King. But what you also failed to get was that they've been buying up a series of other film companies, such as LucasArts, which runs Star Wars. Okay? But they also bought up Marvel.
Oh, that's
Okay.
why it's on Disney.
That's why it's on Disney Plus, okay? And what a fantastic move that was for them, because they've gotten billions out of that deal. Okay? So they've basically got all of these sub-companies now that work for them, all pulling in the profits for Disney. Disney is an absolute media giant. Okay? It even owns a couple of news corporations and things like that. Okay, so yeah. Disney is what I would consider to be scarily big. Okay? There's a couple of companies I consider scarily big. Google is one of them as well. Google is so big it scares the heck out of me. Netflix, exactly as Lavinia said, they changed from a mailed DVD model to an online subscription or streaming service. Okay? But then, how old is Netflix? I believe it's 12, maybe 15 years old. Methinks. Not too sure. Okay? Then they also started producing, there you go,
1997.
so 20. Okay? Then they started producing their own movies and series. That's why with some series you have the big Netflix logo appearing on it, only on Netflix.
What's a royalty?
Royalties is what you pay to somebody else for using their product. Okay? So if they're showing a Disney film, for example, like Star Wars, they're basically saying, we're streaming it on our service, but we've got to pay Disney a certain amount of the profit that we earn for showing it on our service. No, Disney pulled a lot of them to support their own Disney Plus subscription, which made sense. So now serves on about 3 streaming platforms. Damn Mandalorian. Alright, Amazon. Now, Amazon Girls originally started off as an online bookshop. Okay? It's obviously changed quite considerably now. They now offer you pretty much everything. Okay? They also started a streaming service, which you guys said, and then they extended their market overseas. Previously, it was almost impossible to get anything ordered on Amazon in Australia. And Australia is very often one of those countries that are the last ones to get anything. because our population isn't big enough to be worth the investment. And we're also so far nowhere that it costs a dime to ship anything. Okay? Lego! They released a series of models based on old classic movies like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. Basically did what Disney did, revamped the series. Okay? And then they began producing movies and series to provoke interest in the product. I didn't realise how big Lego had gotten until I was on a plane in Turkey, and yeah, the Lego movie, no, not even the Lego movie, they did their safety announcements in Lego. So they had the Lego movie as the safety announcement, all in Turkish and then following it in English. Okay? And I had to catch about 4 different planes in Turkey, and I wanted to kill every single Lego by the end of it because I had to listen to it so many bloody times. Alright, so these are our key terms today, girls. Okay? Not just for today. No. We're not going for all of these today. No, certainly not. It's for the entire dot point. Okay? So this will be over the next 3-4 lessons that we'll be going through these dot points and using them. Okay? Some of them you already know. Okay? Competitive advantage, you know. Culture, you know. E-commerce, it's sort of simple. Okay? We've seen a lot of them before, so we don't have to go through a lot of them. Okay? I reckon we've got about half of those either contextually or already gone through them. Okay? So first things, okay? Responding to external and internal influences. The big one that we're facing in society at the moment is, of course, advancing technologies. Okay? Now, when you've got a cost-benefit, when you've got an advancing technology, you have to do a cost-benefit analysis. Who can explain what a cost-benefit analysis is? Pros and cons, exactly right. Okay? Put it in simplest terms, it's pros and cons. Now, new technologies are, of course, a boon for many different businesses. However, they do not come solely with advantages. What I want you to do, I'll give you 3 minutes. I want you to write down some of the advantages and disadvantages that you might get from introducing new technologies into a business. Okay? Think about some of the hurdles that you have to go through, some of the challenges that you have with new technologies. And if you want a really good school example, go watch Madame Saray do anything with a computer. Okay? Go watch it, it's amazing. Okay? Go think about what advantage and disadvantage you can have with that. I'm not mean, Madame Saray would say it herself. We love Madame Saray, but even she says, not too good at the computers.
Oh, she put herself down while the student was doing her work.
There you go. Go that way, honey.
Oh wow.
What are you going to think? Okay, so if there's a new technology coming to your business, okay, what might be some of the advantages that it might bring? That could be disadvantage, okay, and you're 100% right. Okay, so if not everyone knows how to use it, what do you have to do then? Disadvantage? That's right, you're right. What might be an advantage? Okay, could open you up to a wider market. Okay, keep going along those. Yes, Funky.
No, please, no, please, no.
I think it's warm enough now. Okay, if it gets cold at the end of the lesson, because you guys are sitting right underneath, it would be a bit brutal. How about I do this? And I turn down the fan. Better? Enough to melt the bloody tart.
No, it's not too
What do you got in it, Keelan?
That's a looser.
Pretty sit up. One more minute, yes?
It takes time to learn new techniques.
Done. Thank you for apologising.
I don't want to say it right when I'm walking to the zero.
I understand. Yeah. Oh, righty. So, I have had many answers from this side. You are now safe, you're immune. This side.
I'll be actually.
Yes, you're immune, unless you choose to put your hand up. Okay? Who can give me some advantages? Yo,
It comes with efficiency.
increased efficiency. Absolutely, and please write down the ones that you don't have. Okay? What else?
Improve service or product.
Improved service. Yes,
Oh, widen the market.
widen the market. Now, Alize, can you please explain what you mean by that? Shh, shh, shh. Girls, just because you can't be picked doesn't mean talk. Okay, so I'll explain what I think you meant. Okay? Because you now have new technology, such as you can now promote on internet, for example, you are widening the market of people available to purchase your product. Okay, so if you are allowed to buy online, people don't have to be in your general region. They can now buy from another state and have it shipped to them. Okay? Disadvantages. Some people in this room are just struggling to give one yet.
Makes employees redundant.
Redundancy. Redundancy. I had to think about that one for a second. Redundancy, okay?
Maybe expensive to implement.
Expensive to implement. Yes.
The business could be too reliant.
Too reliant. Girls at the back, thank you. Too reliant. And last one, there's a big one, starts with T. Training. So of course, girls, there's advantages and disadvantages, cost-benefit analysis, okay? You are going to have these sort of increases in efficiency, service, and you're sort of widening the market that you can go towards, okay? But you're going to have redundancy, okay? People are going to lose their jobs because they're going to be replaced by machines. What do we call it when they're replaced by machines? Starts with an A. Automated. Close. Automation. Okay? Automation is when your jobs are replaced by machines. It can also be called mechanization. Okay? It is really expensive to implement a new technology, mainly because A, you have to buy the new technology, but then you have to do the last point, which is train everyone in the new technology. And some employees, they will just simply not get a hold of that training. And they will just remain resistant to it. Okay? And then you can also become too reliant on that machine and people get lazy. Okay? Now, redundancy, what sort of impact would we say that is? It has an S. Because remember, we can go economic. Yes. Okay? Ooh, it would help if I spelt that correctly as well. Economic, but also social. Okay? Because if you're doing redundancies and you're getting this new technology in all the time, you're going to have a social impact and you're going to have an impact on the what's surrounding you. C O M community. Okay? You're going to have an impact on the community that surrounds you. And if you annoy the community too much that surrounds your business, and you are just basically automising all your jobs, everyone from the community is losing their job, that community will turn against you. Okay? And we've seen that before quite a number of times. And if they get angry enough, they're going to go into your factory and smash up your new fandangled machines. Okay? Alright. So, what is an example of advancing technologies? Of course, we have e-commerce. Okay? This is the use of electronic communications to carry out business such as Skype, email, and electronic banking. I don't think I need to explain that to you guys. Okay? One of the big advantages that we found, especially in the retail industry, is inventory management. Okay? Previously, before the advances of technology, everything was basically written down in a giant ledger. Okay? You had to employ so many people just to keep records of what your stock actually was. Okay? Especially in a big department store. Now everything is digitized. Okay? So what you're doing with that technology is you're managing stocks and inputs, and it also reduces lead time. Lead time is the time it takes to basically get new product and stock. Okay? It allows constant stock management, reorders, and warnings. So basically, what you can now do in a modern retail shop is, this would be a great one, this one's been happening constantly for the past 2 months. If you're running low on toilet paper, okay, it's immediately going to send up a flag in the system going, warning, low stock levels, and you can either choose to reorder or it might even do it automatically. You might have the system automatically set up in that regard. Okay? You still used manual labour to correct errors and theft. What's the most common use of manual labour in this one in terms of inventory managing? It's a particular process. Starts with S. Who's working at it? Stock take, yes. Okay? Where basically you get people going around in the store and they're counting everything that you have. Okay? That's to minimise the error of machines, because machines are inherently dumb. Okay? They can only do what you program them to do, and if you program them with a mistake in it, they're not going to be able to fix it, because they're too stupid to do it. Okay? Machines are dumb, as my software teacher always used to say. And it enables the just-in-time method, which is ordering stock only when it's low. Okay? Now, thinking about the just-in-time method, what are some of the obvious disadvantages to doing the just-in-time method? Ordering it when it's only low. What happened to toilet paper? It got real expensive real quick, and could you find it easily in the stores? No. Because 90% of the big retail stores in Australia operate on the just-in-time method. But the just-in-time method does not work when suddenly there's an event and everything gets sold out. Because all of your shops that you're going to only keep what is required in that store. They generally don't keep a large stock anymore. They're always relying on their supply lines being just perfect, running on time, and everything to be fine. The moment you screw up the supply line, all of your shops are dead. And that's what COVID proved. Okay, because the supply line to so many shops got cut and everyone was relying on this just-in-time method. Okay, that's why a lot of the shelves in all your stores were basically empty. Where previously they would have kept a large stock for this event. Now the next one is new systems and procedures, okay? New technology will of course make old styles and techniques obsolete, affecting how we are using information technology for communication, promotion and selling, keeping digital records, and managing information operating in other countries. Basically, this whole dot point is technology is going to change the way that we work at work. Simple. Okay? 2 minutes. Write down 2 ways you think intra/inter-office communication was carried out before email. Okay? So if you wanted to communicate in a big office with 20 floors, how did you used to communicate? And also, if you wanted to send a message to another office, how were you going to do it then?
What were those letter things? There's a really fancy name for it.
There is one, and you're thinking along the right one, but I don't want to give it.
Only nine.
Well, that's the only thing that could do it.
You're not wrong.
Telegraph is a thing you used to read, bro. Like,
Do you mean the one that used to get beep, 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 beep?
pages?
What?
Didn't they use pages?
Oh, you mean like couriers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Pages.
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry, I just realised what you meant. They still use them. My friend who's a paramedic has to keep these on him all the time.
I was watching Friends.
A pager is basically this little thing that used to keep on it. And it used to, there was a guy in an office or a girl, and they could just hit a button and send a message to everyone with the pages, and everyone would get the memo. So paramedics still carry them around all the time, and it's basically, if an event happened, crisis, they'd all get the pager, bang, it goes off, it reads, you must come to work right now, okay, I'm on my way. So it's sort of like an instant service.
But in the old days, they had like that thing, so like the pager would ring. Or actually, it was
It's just
pager, and then you
rectangular.
have to go and ring the person that like.
Yeah.
Hospital.
Yes,
But you want to keep it fun, yeah.
that's right. You must keep your pager with you at all times. And it also has the benefit, like, unlike a phone, you're not going to lose your battery because you're playing games
You
on
know
it.
the thing you get when you get food, and it's
Yeah.
like you like wait with it.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Also that, yeah, the buzzer.
Yeah.
Alright, so girls, 2 ways you think intra/inter-office communication was carried out before email. Ritu? Fax, absolutely. For those of you that are too young to remember what fax is, it's basically like a printer that sends emails between each other. Okay? But it will print out said email.
That's so much cool. I want to do that with my friends.
Oh, it's not
Kat,
fun.
I hate you.
What else? Madeline, what do you got, darling? Couldn't think of anything? What do you got, darling? Are we all that so linked into email and text message now? Lavinia? Telegrams? So a sort of very primitive text messaging service of telegrams. Ritu?
This is just more for like military line and stuff. It's just Morse code.
Morse code? You say it's military, but that was a very big thing still among civilian circles.
As what I know, my dad usually uses to communicate with his work. It's a walkie-talkie he used to say to me.
Walkie-talkie? Now, Samar, what did you say? You said 2.
Pages and telegram. Oh wait, okay.
So I said phone.
So you would have phone, okay, but it would only be voice, of course. Yeah, I was going to say voice. The bad thing about phones is before email, most people had the landlines, okay, you had to be standing next to the phone to answer it, so you're constantly waiting on a phone call. You can't move away. Anything else? You still see these running around in the city. A good old courier, okay? It's a person that carries messages in between the business offices, okay? My mother used to be a courier in the city, so basically all you're doing all day is you're either on a bike or running, and you're running in between the offices. So my mother used to run the offices between the legal firms, constantly serving up papers. Okay? Anything else? Alright. Who here has ever heard of a pneumatic tube? So, a pneumatic tube, girls, was basically this thing that you'd get a cylinder, you'd feed it into the tube, and the tubes have all got air pressure in it, and it would go thump, and send it to another part of the office. Okay? And yeah, we do. Okay? So, we are still using pneumatic tubes now, but we're using them in a different way. For example, this one is a chemist that uses pneumatic tubes as an automated service.
Have it in McDonald's in the airport, like, no, it's not a pneumatic tube, but it's like, you know, like your order travels down. Yeah, it's not a pneumatic tube, but it's just
Okay. And what it does is basically it takes the order from the computer that's in the code of the pneumatic tube, and then it basically, like a chemist does, puts all the things together, grinds it, and sends it back up to the customer. So they're saying this might be a modern way to have pharmacists, because you can have the machine behind a protective screen of glass to stop people from breaking into it. And you can have basically a 24/7 pharmacist, okay, with nobody running it. Now, in the old days, basically these tubes used to be all around the big office buildings, okay? And there would be one person generally on each floor, they'd be standing next to it, and they'd be sorting out tubes and seeing what's come in and then throw it on people's desks as they're going by. Okay? Yeah, office man. Yeah.
Or you can just walk to someone's office.
Because if you've got a 20-story office, you don't want to be constantly running up, down, even if you've got an elevator, too much time. You know? So the pneumatic tubes was a solution to that problem for a while. Alright. Okay. So, with new structures and procedures, we of course have policy problems. Okay? With the advent of new technology, new policy with procedures must be put into place and to ensure the safety and proper conduct of all employees, as well as protecting the business legally. 2 minutes on this one. What new technologies have been implemented? What new technologies have implemented new policy and procedures in schools over the past 20 years? So think about new technology that's come to the school in 20 years. How has it changed how the school has to operate legally and socially?
And they would depend on what books instead of
No, it's Tommy!
Shireen, can you think of any technologies that might have changed school policy over the past?
Yeah, computers.
And the one you're holding at the moment?
Computers? Phones!
Wow! You get me worried sometimes.
I get everyone worried. What do you think going over writing counselling?
Alright. Girls, can I please get examples of technologies that have changed school policy, and if you can, how you think they've changed the policy?
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah, because it used to be chalkboard, whiteboards.
Now we have this to help us.
Google Classroom.
Okay, but hold on. Shh. So remember, girls, the question is not just what technology was introduced, but how did it change policy? Okay? Now this one, I actually remember when these were introduced, they didn't change school policy, they just made it easier. Okay? And it made my life a lot easier as well. Samar?
So Google Classroom has made like no excuses available for students to not have their assignments in, because sometimes it's like, oh, I was away. So now-
Zoom.
Okay, so classroom.
No one whiteboard.
Zoom.
When I was in kindergarten.
Sir.
Yes? Now, besides that, Samar, okay, has Classroom changed any other policies in the school? Now, this one we actually had a staff meeting about when you guys were all on isolation leave, okay? The thing that we were told about in staff meetings was we had to be careful about how much work we were putting online, because when it was online, to us as teachers, it didn't seem like a lot,
That would be more.
but to you as students, it could have seemed like an extraordinary amount. Okay? And it was also, for teachers, a very murky time about when does class time end and when does home life start. Because I know a lot of teachers, we were asking our own union about this, we were going, I'm not sure if I'm still meant to be checking emails and Google Classroom notifications at 8 o'clock at night because now my classroom has followed me home. Okay? Previously, you used to be able to leave it at the door, but now the classroom is at home with teachers. Okay? So that was a big policy thing for us. Okay? What other technologies and how have they affected policy?
like with computer laptops, there's a policy for lending them.
Yep, so library laptops, we actually have policy for lending them, and we actually have policy about how many can go out at any given time and who can borrow them. Okay? Because if we think that you're going to smash the laptop, we're probably not going to be able to borrow it to you. Okay? There was also a whole bunch of, why do we think we still have laptops at school, even though a lot of you have laptops at home?
Not everyone has.
Why?
People forget to complain.
Exactly right, Tachi, okay? Not everyone's family can afford a laptop.
Oh, I was gonna say.
So we-
like other people, other kids.
Yeah, so we have equality and equity policies, okay? Just because the technology is there doesn't mean it's available to everyone, okay? What's the big one? 20 years of Shirin.
20 years of me. I've been doing this for
What
16.
technology did we talk about?
The phone.
The phone! Massive, massive policy changes in school. When the phones were first brought out as mobile phones and started being accessible by students, you could have your phone out whenever. It was so rare that nobody really thought about it. Okay? But the entire school policy has changed now, where you're getting into classrooms and the teachers are basically just going, no phones at all. Okay? I know Miss Kanan, for example, has a box that she collects the phones.
You should do that.
Okay? So there's a...
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
She did
Okay.
a lot of last year with the science.
Yeah.
She's stopped now.
Oh, she stopped now. Okay. But either way, it's implemented new policy. Okay? And as teachers, one of the big ones that we find problematic is social media, because of what you girls do to each other on social media.
Thank you for not.
Yeah, we freaking
Not thanks for not putting a box out. Yeah, that's because I have to carry a box here, man. Yeah.
exposes you.
All right. So social media has been a big policy issue for schools because basically we have to now monitor what students are doing at home because they're bringing it to school in the form of social media and carrying on their arguments at home.
But Miss Sagodi was cool because she put her own phone in the box.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to change
I'm
over
happy
the
to
years.
do that.
AirPods. I have
AirPods.
like the like earphones with the wires.
Yeah.
That's the
Is
AirPods.
that a school policy?
Yeah,
See,
that is a school
one of the
policy.
very interesting problems that we've had, and it's very funny that you said that, Shirin, because I was just about to say, at this school, obviously we have a higher number of Islamic girls, okay?
Yeah, look, they can hide the AirPods like me.
AirPods
Right now.
underneath the headscarf, okay? Now I, as especially a male teacher, am never going to go to someone with a headscarf, show me your ears,
I'll show
okay?
you my ears.
It's not a good idea for
Look, I'm
Sue,
wearing them too.
okay? Shirin, could you please take your AirPods out now that you've
Oh,
shown
no,
me?
there's nothing playing, don't worry. Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Alright, so 2 minutes of this one.
I didn't care, I'll show my ears.
How has COVID-19 changed the way we look at business culture and practice? Basically, how has it changed the way that we look at work? And you yourselves have obviously been affected by this.
Of course you did. I have him on in every period.
He always has something to say to
God, he actually hates me. He really loves me the most because that's what I was to me.
Now,
Yeah.
how has it changed the way we look at business?
People have lost their job in the business, have lost the company.
Has it changed the way that they work?
Yeah.
How?
A lot of people have different timetables now, so a lot of less people now.
Yeah. And what's happening with the less people around? Where are the less people going? Family? Yeah, but are they changing how they work? Where are they working from? Okay. So this has actually changed the way, because previous to COVID, we all thought, no, you need to go into an office to work. Okay. Now basically this is simplifying. We can still get a lot of stuff done when people stay
Can
home.
we have Carnivale this week, please?
You're telling him.
Sure, let me just go to executive. No, Samar said we have to have Carnivale this year. Okay? No, Mr. Lum, you're being very naughty. Okay?
But why can't we?
We can't have Carnivale, darling, until the restrictions, all government restrictions are lifted.
Why not? Like what about like December or something?
All restrictions need to be lifted. I'll put it to you this way, okay? There's a reason I can't open the homework centre. Okay? Now, we know that the government's letting you in because they think that the virus infection rate is very, very low or non-existent amongst kids. Okay? They think it doesn't really spread between you guys. Okay? But there's a lot of evidence saying that it spreads between adults. So the information that I was given was, I'm not allowed to run the homework centre because in the homework centre, I'm not teaching you from far, I'm usually sitting next to you helping you. So it's a greater risk of infection, and I might get infected, I might volunteer for the homework centre, but then there's a risk of me going back to the staff room and infecting someone like Mrs. Parsonage. So no Carnivale will be held, I believe, until all restrictions are lifted, because there's such a massive amount of people all going around, and not to mention the sheer sharing of food.
But that's so sad for you 12.
It is very sad.
Well, how about next year?
God willing, yeah, hopefully. Unless, we get COVID-20 or something. Alright, so how has COVID-19 changed the way we look at business culture and practice, okay? Sunshine's at the back. Let's get an answer from you.
In 2020, why is it COVID-19?
So Scarlett.
See, this is not on. Okay? You can't sit there for 3 minutes and not even know what the question is. Okay? Come on, guys. Yes?
Working from home.
Yeah, absolutely. Working from home. Okay? This has been the biggest one. Okay? We are noticing that the trend is most people are now working from home. Okay? What else?
People's shifts have changed.
Shifts have changed. So they're trying to space them out. What else?
Restricted employees.
Restricted employees.
Social distancing.
So for example, with restricted employees, any person over the age of 75 in the education sector is allowed to continue staying home, I believe the union ruling was, okay, and work from home,
I'll show
okay? What else?
Don't you have a choice to stay at home longer?
If you're over 75, yeah.
We get fined $1,000 for this impact, but like quite a lot of businesses have been considering to like keep the option.
Yep. Keep the option. I know businesses like Google, for example, they were basically seeing, oh, people are sort of still doing the same amount of work at home. Maybe we'll keep this model and they'll actually save money by not having to provide so much office space and amenities. Yeah.
They depended on technology to prevent close contact.
Now, this is probably one of the biggest ones. It's revealed a complete dependence on technology. Okay? Girls, have a lovely day. Now, girls, you only have one bit of homework. Okay? It's on your Google Classroom. You're reading the 3 pages from the textbook. 3. And it's more like 1.5 when you don't get the pictures.
Can someone read them for me? I'll pay them.
Yeah. Instruction technology is so benefits. So you're talking about getting paid for that. So,
Oh, I got a lot of
okay. Yeah, I would recommend it because less work. Look, if you've got the statistics in the article, you might as well use them. Okay. That's why we've used. That's why we've got all the articles.
There's more in here somewhere.
Yes. Yes, of course. Well, hold on. Let me just turn this recording off.